Living by the word radio.
Broadcasting faith, truth, and inspiration throughout the Caribbean and beyond. Faith, truth, inspiration.
You're listening and viewing Living by the Word Radio.
Living by the Word Radio.
Where faith comes alive.
Living by the Word Radio.
Living by the Word.
Morning. A new day is here, full of promise and possibility. Whatever challenges yesterday brought, today is a fresh start. A chance to breathe, to hope, to begin again.
Take a moment to center your heart.
Lift your spirit and focus on what truly matters. This is Inspirational Thoughts, your weekly boost, airing Tuesday to Friday at 8:15 a.m.
With your host, Dexter.
Start your day inspired and start your day transformed. Good morning.
Shalom, shalom. Indeed, every day is a new opportunity. We ought to embrace it, and more so, we ought to give thanks and praise unto the Most High. Shalom from Yahweh our Father and from His Son, Yahshua. Bon dia, mi pueblo estima y bon bini na Inspirational Thoughts, un programa de Living by the Word Radio. Welcome to another edition of Inspirational Thoughts. We learned that not everything we hear is true. So over the past 2 days, we have spoken about deception and truth. Yesterday, we learned that even when truth is presented, it can challenge our assumptions and make us feel very, very uncomfortable. Today, I want for us to ask another important question. And that question is, escucha bon, because it is important. Who is shaping the way you think? Have you ever stopped and asked yourself, why do I believe what I believe? Why do I respond the way I respond? Who has influenced the values that guides my decisions? Because whether we realize it or not, every one of us is being influenced by someone or something. Now, do you agree with what I'm saying? Let us look at the quote for the day. The greatest influence in your life is not always the loudest voice. It is the voice you choose to believe. Right in that quotation, we see the power of choice. This morning, we are looking at the question, who is shaping the way you think? The power of influence. We are all being shaped. And this is something that we have to understand. We're all being shaped. It's like clay, that mold, and something or someone is shaping us. None of us grows up in isolation. Listen, the way we speak is not by accident. What we believe is not by accident. The way we dress is not by accident. And there is great differences when we look at let's take for instance, the Eastern Caribbean. Within the Caribbean islands, yes, but we all behave differently. We all sound differently. And that is because we are being shaped. From childhood, we are influenced by our parents, our teachers, our friends, our culture, yes, and our church. The media also plays an important part in shaping the mindset of this current generation. The media plays a great part in shaping how many today receive and process information. Social media, even painful experiences shape who we are. Every influence leaves a mark. And I want for us to get this. Every influence, every one who have interacted with you left a mark. Now, it could be positive or it could be negative. But at the end of the day, we as individuals are left with a choice. And the choice we make is based on which voice we choose to hear. The question this morning is not, am I being influenced? The question is, who is influencing me? Listen, Romans chapter 12 and verse number 2. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Notice what Paul says. Transformation begins with the mind. If the enemy can influence the way we think, he can eventually influence the way we live. Now, we can put this in any arena and it will work. Put it in the church, put it in the country where governments are concerned. Who is shaping our minds? So Paul is teaching a very important lesson in Romans chapter 12 and verse number 2. And that is, if the enemy can influence the way you think, anyone who influences the way you think, that person will obviously influence how you behave, how you conduct yourself, how you receive and how you process information, and what you do with the information that you have received. Every day, there is something or someone influencing the way we think. If you agree, just put an amen right in the chat. Influence is not always negative. Influence itself is not the problem. And I want for us to get this. Yahweh designed influence. Parents influence their children. Teachers influence students. Pastors influence congregations. Politicians influence nations. Friends influence one another. You ever heard the saying, show me your friends and I will tell you who you are? That's a very old saying. I grew up hearing this quotation, this saying. The question is whether the influence moves us to Yahweh, closer to Him, or further away from Him. So it is imperative that we do some exploration. Now, this lesson is geared to encourage us to take a personal look at ourselves and our lives and question who or what is influencing the decisions that we make and that we take. The source. So we really need to question is whether whatever it is that's influencing me, is it directing me closer to Yahweh, closer to God, or is it directing me further away from Him? Now, let me pause for a while and just take your minds back to the book of Psalm. You remember Psalm chapter 1, that tree that is planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, but whatsoever he do shall prosper. We are talking about position. That tree is positioned right. So we need to question who or what is influencing us, and is it bringing us closer to Yahweh, closer to that source of our strength. Proverbs chapter number 13 and verse number 20. Proverbs chapter 13 and verse number 20. We're going to look at that. Shalom, brother. What shapes us is the colonizers. And this is why the Bible says in Deuteronomy 28 and verse number 48. Now, there are a lot of things influencing us. And I believe that's one of them as well. But Proverbs, let's look at Proverbs chapter 13 and verse number 20. He that walketh with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. Remember, I just quoted earlier on, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. That is in direct sync with Proverbs chapter 13 and verse 20. If he that walketh with wise men shall be wise. Obviously, if you associate yourself with wise people, then they are going to influence you, and therefore the decisions that you make will be based on wisdom. But the opposite is also true. If you hang with fools, then obviously the decisions that you are going to make is not going to be wise. And folks, every day we are faced with choices. And there are some choices that changes our lives. And therefore, it is imperative that we cultivate a discerning spirit. I want for us to notice something in Proverbs chapter 13 and verse 20. Wisdom is contagious, but so also is foolishness. The people we surround ourselves with matter. The people we listen to matter. The most dangerous influence, is there such a thing? The most dangerous influence is often the one we no longer recognize. It becomes normal. Culture says this is just the way things are. Society says everyone is doing it. The media says this is progress. But the believer must ask one question. Why does Yahweh say truth is not determined by popularity? Truth is determined by Yahweh. Psalm 119 and verse 160, thy word is true from the beginning, and every one of thy righteous judgment endureth forever. Notice Psalm 119, it says, thy word is true. And thy word has been true from the very beginning. What a beautiful reminder. Culture changes, opinions changes, governments change, technology change, but Yahweh's truth remains the same. Thy word, the world may change, but the word of Yahweh never changes, folks. Become an influencer, an influence. Instead of asking who is influencing me, we also need to ask, who am I influencing? Someone is watching your life, your children, your spouse, your friends, your co-workers, your neighbors. Your words matter. Your attitude matters. Your integrity matters, whether you know it or not. Your life is preaching a message every single day. Matthew chapter 5 and verse number 16 says, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Yahweh did not tell us to blend into the darkness. He called us to be light. And that one make me feel a little hot right now. Yahweh has called us to be light. And light shines into darkness. That is why I will I will say over and over again, what is the church doing to bring about a change in our society? Are we sending that light? And in sending and shedding that light and proclaiming that light, it also suggests standing up for truth, standing up for righteousness. And when things aren't going right, my question is, why isn't the church saying anything? Here's a question to ponder on. Suppose someone followed your example for 1 week. Would they become more patient? Would they become more loving? Would they become more honest? Would they draw closer to Yahweh? Or would they become more fearful, more negative, more bitter? Influence begins long before leadership. Before anyone stands behind a pulpit, before anyone sits in parliament, before anyone leads a company, they are already influencing someone. Leadership does not begin with a title, it begins with a life that influences others. As we close this morning's inspirational thoughts, I want to leave you with this question. If influence is so powerful, if our lives affect those around us, then what responsibility do people of faith have in shaping communities? And I want to ask that question again. Then what responsibility do people of faith have in shaping their communities and their country by extension? Tomorrow, I want to introduce a conversation that has already begun among many of you, a conversation about faith, leadership, and service, and our responsibility as believers. I believe it will challenge us to think deeply and biblically. Today, examine the voices that influence your life. Examine the people you follow. Examine the conversations that you entertain. Examine the examples you imitate. Then ask yourself, is this influence helping me become more like the Messiah? Because every influence is shaping your future, and therefore we need to choose wisely. I want to thank you all for being here this morning. Thank you for being present. And of course, the judge always in the comment section. Do appreciate that. I also touched on one of the verses that you highlighted, the chapter that you highlighted in Psalm yesterday. Awesome stuff. I trust that we all will have a wonderful day today. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. And of course, if the Lord spares our lives, we will be back to do this next week. So until next time, I bid you Godspeed. Shalom, shalom from Yahweh our Father and from his Son, Yahshua or Jesus the Christ. Blessings, blessings always to each and every one of you this morning.
A new day is here, full of promise and possibility. Whatever challenges yesterday brought, today is a fresh start. A chance to breathe, to hope, to begin again.
Take a moment to center your heart.
Lift your spirit and focus on what truly matters. This is Inspirational Thoughts, your weekly boost, airing Tuesday to Friday at 8:15 a.m.
With your host, Dexter.
Start your day inspired and start your day transformed.
Living by the Word Radio.
Living by the Word Radio.
Broadcasting faith, truth, and inspiration throughout the Caribbean and beyond.